Hello everyone, welcome to Beauty in the Garden. I am T. If you're new here, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I'm going to go about planting up my second round of potatoes. So I just harvested my first round of potatoes. It did okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and plant up my second round of potatoes. And now that I have this back garden situated, I'm quite sure that we're going to get a better harvest this go around. So let's go ahead and jump into how I'm going to go about planting up my potatoes. Now I do have here 3 grow bags right here in front of me, and what I'm going to be doing is, the first thing is, I have topped these beds right here with compost. Now you definitely want to top these beds with compost just so that it'll get enough nutrients to these tubers. Now as you guys can see here, I have it literally almost right at the soil line. Okay, so we don't want it to go over our soil line because the water would just spill out of our containers, and we don't want that to happen because we would just be wasting water. So we want to make sure that our soil at least a ½ inch to an inch from the rim of your container, regardless of what kind of container that you might have, even down to these grow bags. Now these grow bags are 30-gallon grow bags from Vivalsun. If you're interested in those, I definitely will have these you guys in the description box. But I have had them now, I think going on about 2 or 3 years, and they have held up wonderfully. All right, so we're going to be planting up these potatoes in these grow bags. Now I do have here is humus and manure that is topped on top of these containers. Now I just harvested potatoes out of here, so I went ahead and added some compost. But we're not done quite just yet. We are going to go ahead and put in a little bit more fertilizer into these grow bags. But be careful when you're adding in compost, because compost can cause scabbing if it's too much. Okay, you have to kind of straddle that fence of not going too much in to put it in too much into your containers, okay, or even into your in-ground gardens, because it can cause scabbing. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this video. All right, so I have here is some potatoes that were sprouting in my home, and I went ahead and cut them up. And as you guys can see here, I cut up little chunks, and they all have their eyes on them. And I'm going to plant 2 to 3 cuttings into each of these grow bags. Start putting our potatoes in. There is something that I want to do. The first thing is, I'm going to be adding in a all-purpose fertilizer. Now this is by Job's Organic. I love the Job's Organic brand. I just have been using it for a very long time, so trust and true, this is what I go to. That rhymes, you guys, that rhymes. All right, but yeah, so I'm going to be using the Job's Organic. So what I'm going to be doing is, since I have, let's see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a piece. So I'm going to put 3, so I'm going to make 3 holes in each container. All right, so we're going to make 3 holes. I'm going to go roughly about 6 inches into the soil. That might seem pretty deep to you guys, but it is not. Okay, so we're gonna go roughly about 6 inches into the soil. All right, we're going 6 inches. So it's pretty much the palm of my hand and fingertips. I'm going in, making a pretty reasonable size hole into these containers. All right, like I said, I'm making 3 holes. Just like that. All right, so now that I went ahead and did that, now I'm going to add just a little bit of Job's Organic, not too much. I'm going to do about maybe a 1.5 tablespoons of Job's Organic. Not much, not much. All right, so I added roughly about 1.5 tablespoons to each hole, to add in some bone meal. Now bone meal does help with that bud production, so I'm going to add that as well, the same way I added the Job's Organic bone meal as well. So we're just going to add in, like I said, a pinch, which roughly is about 1.5 tablespoons. All right, so we have now in our Job's Organic all-purpose fertilizer, and we have in here our Job's Organic bone meal. Now, before we even bother to put our potatoes in these holes, we're going to give them a great stir. All right, we're going to get in here and we're going to make sure that fertilizer is into these holes, because we do not want to burn our tubers. Okay, we don't want to burn them before they even get a chance to grow. Okay. All right, so now that we have them stirred, now we're going to go ahead and place our tubers. Make sure your tubers are placed upright, okay? Make sure your tuber is facing up, okay? So we're going to place them into our containers upright. All right, so now that we have our potatoes planted upright inside our containers, just cover them up. Now you can do a method called hilling up inside your containers. I have done it, but guess what? There's so many different ways that you can do this. You can actually build it with hay, making sure that your tubers don't get shown by the sunlight. You can actually just go ahead and mount it up while you start with your container halfway filled with soil, or you can just have your container completely filled. Just make sure that you bury them pretty deep into the soil. Now they will take just a tad bit longer to come up because it has a longer way to go from out of the soil, but they definitely will come up, okay? All right, so we have our potatoes covered. All right, and I love that the grow bags that I have here, this held up to test the time. These grow bags, you guys, I've had about 2 to 3 years. They have really held up very, very nicely. If you have grow bags, you probably understand what I mean. They actually are pretty darn good, especially when it comes down to if you want to purchase containers. Nursery containers can cost a little bit of money, but grow bags are pretty reasonable. So if you want to save on just a little bit of money, grow bags can be the way to go for you if you don't want to pay for containers or don't know where that you can get a free resource of nursery pots. So I had a free resource for me to get some nursery pots, so I was lucky to be able to get my nursery pots. But definitely when it comes down to these grow bags, they are very, very reasonable, and sometimes they have package deals or bundle deals that you can get these grow bags for pretty reasonable. But today, you guys, we just planted up potatoes inside of these grow bags. And before we head off, I have one more thing that I love to do when it comes down to potatoes, is that you would think it's like you would think it's just like a seedling, but it's not. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing before I head off, I have here is my rainwater. I am going to be adding one more thing to my potatoes, and that is fish emulsion. I'm just going to add a little bit, not much, into here, and I'm going to give it a little stir. Now this is a water soluble. I always feed my plants a water soluble when I'm just freshly planting them up. And potatoes to me is not a seedling, okay? It's not a seedling. It is many, many, many leaves on there. If you actually look at how the chitting of your potato is, and you'll see a bunch of little different leaves. So, okay, definitely feed them, okay? Potatoes really like their feeding at the beginning stages, and once they get to a certain point, you want to dial back just a little bit, okay, so you can get those tubers and not leaves. But let's go ahead and water them in with a fishy motion, just like this, just to settle the soil around your tubers, okay? And you guys, if you're interested in this stool, I have this stool as well in the description box, or I have it on the page. All right, so we have just planted up our second round of potatoes for the year. These are going to be a success. So I hope you want to go ahead and try out planting up your second round of potatoes right along with me. And you guys, you will get to follow along as these potatoes go ahead and start growing. So I hope you guys enjoy my videos. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I do upload a video. And like I always tell you guys, there's beauty in everyone's garden. And bye-bye for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye, you guys. Happy gardening.